Matakohe forest. The family farm had 700 acres and 7/8 of our boundary was virgin forest. My father was an axeman, a logger and a farmer. Him and Eddie Olsen, a good friend of his, an axeman mate, they teamed up as a cross-cutting team. They went down to National Park, did a lot of Rimu, Matakohe, Totara down there, and they went to the Great Barrier and felled Kauri there. 1939 they got called up to the war. My specialty was the standing block, and if you can imagine fronting up to a big tree, they would have to direction fall them, so they'd have a scarf, and normally they would cross-cut the bottom cut, and then they would chip away at the top cut until they made a scarf to allow the tree to fall in the direction. You know, some of those trees were 2-3 metres in diameter, and they could be cutting a scarf all day, you know. 2 of them, one from each side, the left-hander and a right-hander. I used to cut left-handed, my father used to cut right. When they cut the logs, the smaller trees, when they'd head them, they would stand on the log and they would cut it off, and that was the underhand between your legs. And then they'd also have the jigger chop, which you would climb up the boards, and they used to saw off there as well as chop. Trees that had big buttresses, so that was called the jigger. And of course you've got your sawing events with the single and double saws. So that was all derived from the day of the axe and the saw, where the cross cutters felled the trees, and everything was done manually. You know, teams of ox, bullocks. In 1950-51, Dad travelled through Australia and competed Victoria and in New South Wales, and he went to the Sydney show. And the competition, you know, I mean, the Australians were, well, they still are New Zealand's best competitors, because they had the same industry as we did, and they were very good axemen and still are today. So the Sydney show has always been recognised as the top of the list. If you can, you know, win at Sydney, then you've basically achieved the top of the, you know, achievements. No one believed that I had the ability to win Sydney, but I did myself. But it was very, very difficult, and took about 5 years before I actually won it. You know, you build this thing in your head that they were impossible to beat, okay? And then, of course, when you beat them convincingly in big events, then you just chuck all that out the window. And so that's what happened that day. You thought, okay, I hammered him, you know, and of course it was one of many to come. I mean, like my father said, he says you'll get more hidings than you'll give, but you know, when you give them, it's good. I won the 15-inch standing block at Sydney in 1993. I placed in it every year I went in it. So everything, you talk about peak performances, well, that was a peak performance that whole day. And of course, you know, you think, oh, okay, you know, you won it by 9 seconds, and which is almost unheard of in a final of that calibre. Because normally, I mean, Jason, when you picked me in 1996, the same would be 100 of a second. So there's a lot of things that have got to come, but don't fluke it.
No, it's £6. How much does Dalmatian get? No, it's not money. Yeah.